Hi everyone and welcome back to the Poems and Stories series. We're going to start a mini-series within this series titled A Nation's Builders. Um, the first chapter for this is going to be the Star-Spangled Banner. So to start, A Nation's Builders. Not gold, but only men can make a people great and strong. Men who, for truth and honor's sake, stand fast and suffer long. Brave men who work while others sleep, who dare while others fly. They build a nation's pillars deep and lift them to the sky. Ralph Waldo Emerson. The Star-Spangled Banner. On the night of September 12, 1814, during the War of 1812, the British fleet furiously bombarded Fort McHenry in cooperation with strong land forces. The fort held out valiantly. If it fell, the chief city of Maryland and many other Union defenses must fall with it. Among those who breathlessly watched the attack was the young Baltimore lawyer and patriot who, though under a flag of truce, was detained as a temporary prisoner on board a British vessel in the harbor apart from the battle fleet, but just in sight of the flag of Fort McHenry. With every shell that whistled over into the fort, the young patriot expected a terrific explosion and the destruction of his countrymen's defense. Suddenly the firing ceased. Did it mean the surrender of the fort or the abandonment of the siege? He could not tell, for he had no means of communication with the battle fleet. For the remainder of the night he paced the deck in terrible anxiety, longing for the return of day and the sight of the dear old flag. Light came at last. Our flag was still there. The British attack had failed, and the British were departing. The words of the first stanza of the Star-Spangled Banner were composed by Francis Key as he walked the deck in darkness and suspense. He tortured with the thought of the fort's surrender, and taunted and jeered by those who held him prisoner. When morning dawned and the flag of Fort McHenry met his anxious sight, his patriotic fervor burst forth in the following poem written before leaving the vessel. In less than an hour after it went into a printer's hands, it was all over town, hailed with the joy by the multitudes who felt its deeper meaning. Ferdinand Durag, an actor, seeing the poem, caught up his flute, tried tune after tune until he chanced upon one called Anacreon in heaven. And as the notes of the flute fell in harmony with the words and message of the poem, he declared triumphantly, "Boys, I have it." Then, as the words were taken up, there rang out for the first time the song of the Star-Spangled Banner. Amid shouting and clapping of hands, the actor next sang it in public. It spread like wildfire. It was whistled in the streets, caught up in camps, sung around bivouac fires, and finally, with returning peace, chanted around thousands of patriotic firesides. Greater interest than ever before now attaches to this song. It has been officially recognized as our national song in the General Orders No. 201, issued by the War Department December 15, 1906, which are in part as follows. Whenever the Star-Spangled Banner is played by the band on a formal occasion at a military station, or at any place where persons belonging to the military service were present in their official capacity, all officers and enlisted men present stand at attention, and if not in ranks, render salute, being retained until the last note of the Star-Spangled Banner. The same respect is observed toward the national air of any other country when it is played as a compliment to official representatives of such country. The Star-Spangled Banner. National Anthem. All stand. To be memorized. Oh, say, can you see, by the dawn's early light, what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars, through the perilous flight, o'er the ramparts we watched, were so gallantly streaming. And the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave? On that shore dimly seen through the mists of the deep, where the foe's haughty host in dread silence reposes. It is that which the breeze o'er the towering sheep, as it fitfully blows, now conceals, now discloses. Now it catches the gleam of the morning's first beam, in the full glory reflect, now shines on the stream. 'Tis the star-spangled banner, oh, long may it wave, o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave. And where it that band who so vauntingly swore, mid the havoc of war and the battle's confusion, a home and a country they'd leave us no more? Their blood has washed out their foul footsteps' pollution. No refuge could save the hireling and slave from the terror of flight or the gloom of the grave, and the star-spangled banner in triumph doth wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave. Oh, thus be it ever when free men shall stand between their loved homes and the war's desolation. Blessed with victory and peace, may the heaven-rescued land praise the power that hath made and preserved us a nation. Thus conquer we must, for our cause it is just, and this is our motto, in God is our trust. And the star-spangled banner in triumph shall wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave. By Francis Scott Key. Thank you for getting to the end of today's mini-sode. Again, we will continue with this mini-series within this series titled The Nation's Builders. Tomorrow will be Daniel Boone, the Prisoner of Kentucky. Please stick around tomorrow and get the next video. Thank you so much again for getting to the end. Please like and subscribe if you like what we're doing here, and I hope you all enjoy the rest of your day.